want to make two things clear before I start this video. A, I know that Catwoman is a terrible movie, and B, I don't care. When you look beneath the nauseating camera work, cringy little one-liners,
nice and easy.
Cats come when they feel like it, not when they're told.
Oh, bro.
uncanny valley CGI, weird voice acting, atrocious accents.
But this is a disaster. It's a total bloody disaster.
Bad acting. Not because the people acting are bad actors, we know that Halle Berry and Benjamin Bratt are great actors, but because of the questionable direction, I'm sure. On the nose commentary on how people can be both bad and good.
I want you to be the good guys, you got it?
Yeah. Just generally off-putting stuff that happens to show us that she's a cat. She's a cat, guys. She breathed some musty cat breath, and now she too is a cat. Hannah Montana-esque ad-libs. But I guess the Hannah Montana ad-libs would be derivatives of Catwoman because it came first. And as Patience Phillips put it, cats come when they want to. Really, guys, did I mention the one-liners? And also overlook the really bizarre and inexplicable changes in tone. You'll find that it is still bad, but you'll enjoy it if you are/were a religiously repressed girl who recently watched this movie 2 times in the span of 3 days, 15 years after you decided not to watch it on Mnet when you were a child because it was demonic. In this video essay, I'm going to be arguing that Catwoman is a religious allegory. In particular, it is an allegory for how religion can be empowering for some women and repressive for others, and I'll also explain why our failure to appreciate both experiences is a problem. This is gonna be fun.
You boys thought you could come in here and steal all these beautiful things? What a perfect idea.
First things first, what is Catwoman 2004? Catwoman 2004 is a piece of intellectual property which DC has decided to ignore, like that enormous pile of clothing you said you'd fold last week. Fold your shirts, babes. Chairs are for sitting. It follows Patience Phillips, the secret identity for Catwoman, akin to the significantly more canonical and respected Selina Kyle. Selina Kyle. It's Selina. You know what, whatever. One of the things that makes Patience Phillips different from Selina Kyle and all the original series DC has cooked up for her over the years is her initial characterization and also the fact that she's only depicted in one piece of media.
Cats come when they feel like it.
Patience Phillips starts off as a bumbling, shy, timid artist who works in corporate Gotham. I guess we never really find out where the story is located as a graphic designer because, you know, life, man. At Woman 62, Selina Kyle was a flight attendant who had amnesia until DC decided that that particular origin story wasn't it actually in The Brave and the Bold number 197 and decided she was abused by her husband, left him, and then broke into the house to steal back her jewelry. In both cases, Selina teeters the line between hero and villain and decides to pursue the life of crime or I guess being a pseudo-cop depending on what's fun at that moment. Then in Batman Year 1, they come up with a new origin story. No, these particular DC guys said, Selina is a dominatrix/prostitute who really likes cats and decided to become a cat thief after being inspired by Batman's fighting. Fuck no, said another set of DC guys some year later. The woman wearing a latex suit who beats people with a whip can't be a dominatrix/prostitute. She simply pretended to be a prostitute so she could rob men. In movies and TV shows, Selina Kyle is suave and self-assured and oozes sex appeal, even when she isn't wearing the suit. Catwoman 2004 is nothing like that when the movie starts. The movie opens with a scene of Patience struggling to make her way through the crowd, presumably late to work at her day. She's wearing an outfit that the movie tries really hard to claim is bad, but it's actually kind of cool. Her goal in life is to dress up like a chic grandmother who dabbles in potion making though, so take my opinion with a grain of salt. She gets to the office where her comedic relief best friend talks to her about the new Bouline skincare product, which hasn't been released yet, and points out that it's giving her headaches. In the meantime, the CEO, Mr. Hedare, is announcing the release of their new skincare product for Bouline, and the cameraman is trying to give us all a seizure. He tries to announce the fact that the company will have a new fresh face when his wife, the current face of Hedare, interrupts him to break the news instead. We see from this exchange that the couple is not on the best of terms, and also that this man has a really terrible, like the most terrible British accent I have ever had in my life.
Exactly. Karina, the future of Hedare beauty.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, I look forward to seeing you all at the gala where you can toast Adrena and our success in person.
Oh my god, what a terrible time to have ears. We get a confirmation a little bit later when Patience approaches the CEO's office and hears the sound of him yelling at his wife. Of what? You must be asking. The fact that they're not on good terms and that the accent is...
What is wrong with you?
In the office, the CEO accosts Patience for using a particular shade of red that he literally asked for on a design poster.
I'm not pleased. This is not even close to what I wanted. I can't imagine what on earth you were thinking.
I am so sorry.
I mean, look at this red. It's all wrong. I wanted it darker.
I specifically heard you say that.
I know what I've said.
He low-key wants to fire her, but then Mrs. O'Dare swoops in and reminds him that Patience is oh so talented, as evidenced by that truly riveting picture and that evocative shade of red. The CEO says okay and demands that she give him new samples by midnight the next day because it makes sense to have things delivered in the middle of the night. Fast forward to that night and the people next door are playing their music really loud. She asks them to turn the music down at the volume normal people would use to speak in a library. They obviously don't, but this is a scene where the cat, who we will later learn is Midnight, sees her and meows contemplatively before disappearing. The next day we see her making a painting with that incredible revolutionary red color when Midnight comes along and lures her outside. She walks up an air conditioning vent and gets stuck, and Patient goes out on the fucking ledge of the building to save the cat. Side note, I have never in my life understood this idea of saving cats from trees. I'm just going to convince myself that this is a simply a fictive thing, that people don't actually call fire people to get cats out of trees. Because it's incomplete. I've never even seen a cat climb a tree, let alone witness someone save it from one. Anyway, Tom the detective, Patient's future love interest, sees her, incorrectly assumes that she wants to take her life, and quickly dashes into her apartment and saves her before she can fall to her death. Once safely inside, he finds out that she really was trying to save a cat. She realizes that she's late for work, pushes him out of her apartment, and runs off to work barefoot. We never see her putting on shoes, but not before dropping her wallet. Tom picks up her wallet and looks at it contemplatively. And then we're back at work where Mrs. Hodare's pictures are being removed, and the new face of Hedare, also her husband's new mistress, is replacing her pictures. And then we go back to the office where literally everyone is wearing the same clothes they were wearing yesterday. I'm not sure if this was intentional or a mistake, but everyone is wearing the clothes from the previous day, which is yeah. Tom comes along into the office with her wallet and asks her out on a date. Patience agrees. She ends up working late that day and goes to drop off the new samples at the headquarters, but instead finds out that butylene can literally disintegrate people's skin unless if the user uses it literally forever. We get some of the terrible camera work in here too.
I don't care that the FDA never saw the headaches and the nausea and the fainting spells. Those are symptoms I can live with.
Patience doesn't know this at the time, but the mastermind of all this is Mrs. Hedare. Patience drops at last, they hear chatter, and Mrs. Hedare tells her guards to run after her. The security guard almost kills her, but she manages to escape and runs into a bunch of pipes. The security then opens up the water in the pipes, which causes her to fall into the ocean, where she dies. Except psych! The cats are here to save the day. Midnight breathes cat life into Patience and she's reborn with lots of feline movements, super sight, and also the ability to batter things without managing to actually catch them, a true cat. She makes her way home, breaks into her window, and wakes up in her room the next day in a fresh set of clothes on top of a really high shelf. Then we found out that Tom was waiting for her at the cafe, but she never actually showed up. But you know who does? Midnight. And Patience is like, bitch, let's take you to your Uma. Sorry, it wouldn't be a bitch technically. The owner of the cat is Ophelia Powers, a certified crazy cat lady who tells Patience that she's died. Obviously spooked, Patience gets the hell out of there and goes to work where she's promptly yelled at by the CEO with that terrible accent for not delivering the samples
Because, and I quote you, you cannot remember? What the hell is wrong with you, Phillips?
In a completely out of character move, she stands up to him and gets fired. Then her friend faints and is taken to the hospital. This isn't something that is explicitly said outright, but it's implied that the fainting spell was caused by butylene. After that, we move to a scene of Detective Tom talking to kids about the importance of being the good guys. And Patience shows up with a sorry coffee, back to being a bit shy in this moment. And then they play basketball and we get the infamous scene that people hate and which has like 29 different cuts in a minute.
It's scandalous. So scandalous. It's scandalous. So scandalous. The way you move is so dangerous. You're gonna be moving like a trembling girl. You're gonna dangerous them there. The way you move so scandalous. There goes my baby.
There's some expository dialogue between Patience and her friends about the importance of having a man. And then we back at nighttime. The neighbors are being loud again, but instead of cowering in her room, Patience goes out, destroys the neighbor's property, assaults him, puts on a super snazzy leather outfit, cuts her hair, puts on some makeup, steals a motorbike, and drives in the night. I show you the footage on the bike, but I'm pretty sure that shit can cause a photoepileptic attacks. And I'm so serious. Yeah. She decides to make a stop at the jewelry store where she finds some guys committing a crime and decides that she can do it better. She beats them, steals their booty, and goes to bed. In the morning, she says what happened and decides to return everything except a necklace. Detective Tom and his fellow cop find the bag of jewelry with the word sorry scrawled on it and a complimentary box of cupcakes to go with it. At this point, Patience is starting to freak out. She doesn't understand what is going on with her, so she decides to Google what the hell is happening, which is the point where she finds out that Midnight may have something supernatural going on, and so she goes back to Ophelia to get some answers. Ophelia then talks to Patience about the goddess Bast and the Mao cat breed of which Midnight belongs. The point of Bast is that she represents the duality of the feminine, and then Ophelia tells Patience that she died and was reborn, and that Midnight is the one who gave her the gift of life and also of being a cat. Then she tells her that she's one of the many Catwomen of history in the most astrological way possible.
Catwomen are not contained by the rules of society. You follow your own desires. This is both a blessing and a curse. You will often be alone and misunderstood, but you will experience a freedom other women will never know. You are a Catwoman.
Then Patience has the cuntiest work in the history of mankind on the ledge as the Cata Montana ad-libs play in the background. She has figured out that someone killed her and she wants revenge, so she goes back to the headquarters and finds the guy who was trying to stop Mrs. O'Dare from releasing the skin-eating Bulleen to the public, all dead and stuff. A janitor sees her standing over the dead body and naturally assumes that she did it. She escapes, but the damage has been done. Meanwhile, Detective Tom has realized that the writing on the cup is similar to that on the paper bag, so we get some more mambo-jumbo personality traits based on random things.
Were they written by the same person?
Well, it's not an exact science. But this first one, the broad spacing of the letters, indicative of loneliness. We look at the loop of the Y, very self-confident, almost angry. And the O, well, this person doesn't like to play by all the rules.
So they're different people.
Very. If you put these two women in the same room, you're gonna have one hell of a party.
Side note, if any one of you can tell me who I am based on the portion of handwriting, please do. Patience and Tom go on a date at the fair. The Ferris wheel falls apart and Patience saves a kid from certain death. Later that night, she breaks into the O'Dare residence with her cool necklace nails, gets hit over the head by Mrs. O'Dare, and wrongly assumes that she's innocent, and is manipulated by her into thinking that Mr. O'Dare is the guilty party. Mrs. O'Dare gives Catwoman the man's location and her phone, and then she tucks the phone in her pants in a way that could have been really cool, but the closing shot just makes it look very cringe. That could have been a very impactful move, but Catwoman breaks into the show where Mr. O'Dare currently is. The guards call the cops and she scratches the CEO's face. Then eventually the cops show up and she has an exchange with Tom, which ends with her escaping and him with a piece of evidence that Patience is Catwoman on his cheek. This is a total bloody disaster! Mrs. O'Dare trash talks Mr. O'Dare. He slaps her and realizes that Bulleen has turned her face into a slab of concrete. Meanwhile, Patience and the detective have had a hot date. He slaps on one of her necklace claws and bada bing, bada boom. He realizes that Patience is Catwoman. Meanwhile, Mrs. O'Dare has set up Catwoman for the murder of the CEO. Detective Tom goes to her apartment and arrests her, and not in like... let me not make that joke. He interrogates her as if that isn't a conflict of interest, and she says, believe that I didn't kill the CEO or the other guy because it's me. The woman who's giving you no reason to believe that she's trustworthy in any capacity at all. She breaks out of prison, jumps out of the window where she almost gets hit by a car and promptly steals the car. Time Mrs. O'Dare, in the true Erica Kirk style, is cuntily announcing that Bulleen is going to be released tomorrow, despite the fact that the man's body is literally still warm. Catwoman damages some property again, this time to stall the delivery of Bulleen. Detective Tom is at the release and he chats with Mrs. Adair and gets a confirmation from the woman herself that she killed the CEO and that other guy. She decides that she's gonna kill him when he tells her that he's gonna arrest him, but just in the nick of time, Catwoman comes in to stop her. Battle ensues, which results in Mrs. Adair falling to her death. with her concrete face cracked. But let the record show that she did not jump out of the window on purpose, and Catwoman also didn't push her, and so we get another one of those situations where appearances aren't necessarily reality. Tom tells Catwoman to go back to the cell so that no one will know that she's Patience, and then Patience decides to leave so she can see the world. The end. Forever. Fold the shit.
I can't believe I trusted you. You're a fake.
And what are you, a hero?
There are two characters in this movie who I think are sort of mirrors for how religion can be empowering for some women and disempowering for others. On the one hand, we have Patience Phillips, a convert for whom religion has been a source of empowerment. And on the other hand, we have Mrs. Hedare, a woman who has realized that the religion she has been following unquestioningly for decades has not accorded her any material freedoms, and in truth has actually atrophied her progress as a woman, rendering the fleshiness of her face to stone, which, despite being hard and impenetrable, cannot shield her from the consequences of not being young and thus beautiful enough.
After all, no one can defeat Father Time. Though you did put up a hell of a fight, didn't you? Butylene works wonders, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
I have a busy day today. Drinks, then dinner. Don't wait up, will you, darling?
These women are essentially mirrors of each other. It is through them that we can analyze the persistent dichotomy across themes and stylistic decisions within the movie, which can help us make sense of this overarching religious allegory. Up until this point, I've been talking very vaguely about religion. This would lead most of us to assume that the religion depicted in the movie itself would fall within the canon of one of the Abrahamic religions that dominate public consciousness on theology. But the movie is very clear in its claim that the religion we are dealing with here is one rooted in the Egyptian goddess Bast, the mistress of happiness and bounty and twin god of the sun god being Ra. Bast, also referred to as Bastet, is also connected to other goddesses, and in addition to being the goddess of this happiness and bounty, is believed to be a protector and nurturer. Because of the nature of things, she has meant different things to Egyptians over the years, and so her characterization is a bit contradictory in some respects. There's also the fact that the recountance of who Bast was, both in authoritative academic tests and in the movie, is coming from a very Eurocentric lens, which will obviously create some shortfalls in these guys' engagements with an African spiritual/religious figure. But the gist of the matter is that in the movie, the women in Europe who expressed an affinity for Bast, these older generation Catwomen, were deemed to be connected to the occult, witchcraft, and the devil, and hanged for their belief. You know, classic European behavior. In Ophelia's words,
Catwomen are not contained by the rules of society. You follow your own desires. This is both a blessing and a curse. You will often be alone and misunderstood.
in a word, these women were simply too cunt. Cunt here should be understood in the African-American vernacular English way, not the other way. It means authentic, usually authentically transgressive, and is typically used in queer Black American and Black American women spaces as a word meant to convey respect for someone's style, craft, or personality. A woman wearing junk nails can be said to be cunt. A queen who's made a ball gown out of newspapers can be cunt. A person who's just hit the death rob, cunt. Catwoman, catwalking on top of someone's roof with red lips, gloves that sport claws made from a stolen necklace, and that fake-ass mask as we get Cata Montana ad-libs is the pinnacle of cunt. But there's another cunt in this movie, Mrs. Hedare, with her cunty stone face and cunty sense of fashion. I say all this to say that the relevant religion in Catwoman is cantology. Cantology is a religion based on authentic transgression and the iconography of cats, particularly the Egyptian Mal. Rather than waste my time trying to force Egyptian religious iconography into an American context, I'm going to draw on themes I am identifying in the movie to see how cantology's central message, go forth, actualize, and break barriers, impact these women differently, and why this happens.
What happened the other night? I don't remember. You died, but you were reborn.
I think a lot of us are familiar with the religious imagery of dying and reborn again, with dying signifying the death of the version of oneself who existed before one becomes acquainted with the true God or the true faith, and being reborn being the conversion into the relevant religion. In order to become Catwoman, Patience has to literally die and be reborn through a cat breath-induced resurrection. The breath of the cat immediately gives her new life, and she's immediately changed by the experience, hence the jerky cat-like movements, which are in stark contrast to her more meandering, unsure movements from when she was just Patience. When Patience is born again, she is freer, happier, and more confident. She does not know who she is, yes, but she has a more assured sense of self. One thing that I found interesting when I was reflecting on the movie is that Patience almost died 9 times in the movie because, of course, her actual loss of life is when she actually dies from the pipes. Near-death experiences include the Ferris wheel when she escapes from prison and almost gets hit by the car, in her fight with Mrs. Hedare.
Cats fall when they want, not when they're told to.
When she climbed out of the window to save Midnight, the cat that would later give her the breath of life, in her fight with the bodyguard, when she's fighting with Tom, when she's fighting with the jewelry thief, and when the guard almost shot her because she discovered Billion's secret. My point is that Patience has escaped death many times in the movie, as each of the times she would have almost died would have barred her from being reborn. Cantology demands that she die, yes, but only if she can be reborn again and be her authentic self through this rebirth. Mrs. Adair is different. At the time that we meet her, she's already been a cantologist for a while, but she's a cantologist who has never died or been reborn. If any of you were raised religiously, you are probably very familiar with these people who come to church every Sunday, are well versed in the art of policing their fellow believers, and spend every waking moment telling people that they are daughters of the Most High. But in their eyes, in those moments where they cannot keep up, they pretend. Or when you look beneath the cedar tree, you see something else, a subtle chipping away, a subtle dying that won't result in any sort of resurrection. Instead of making her freer and happier and more confident, Cantology has turned Mrs. Adair into a bitter woman forced to do things she doesn't want to.
Don't be stupid, Laurel. You don't want to kill a cop.
I'm a woman, Lum. I'm used to doing all kinds of things I don't want to do. Give my regards to my husband.
And share her ailment with others so that she won't suffer alone.
And with what we stand to make from consumers demanding their fix, I can live with it being addictive, but these side effects from the long-term studies...
That won't happen if they keep using it. And we'll make sure they do. Because that's where the money comes from.
Who is also cruel and vindictive. Confident, yes, but only if she can disparage women who threaten her own sense of self, or be the face of beauty standards which make other women feel insecure, and thus prone to fall for her false prophecy, for Beuline, which will reverse their aging but also make them indefinite consumers of a flesh-eating product. Mrs. Adair has been the face of Adair for 15 years. All of her pictures for the company are fierce, being self-assurant. We can only imagine that she has been the envy of many women over the years, especially since this woman was released in the early 2000s. She is, on the face of it, a true cunt. Married to a rich CEO, the face of a beauty product company, and by implication, the face of beauty for nearly 2 decades, with enough power to speak in meetings and pull the strings on the actual product behind the scenes. But the fact that this particular cantological project has not shielded her from her husband's infidelity, or even from the truly ferocious anti-older woman beauty industry, even though she has outlasted many others as a 40-year-old woman, she has been made to die internally, yes, but not externally. Her stony face hides the signs of aging, and her dedication to the veneer of power that being the face of her day gives her show how she has encased her death in a mirage of life. But all this changes towards the end of the movie when Catwoman cuts her hardened cheeks, showing the decaying skin underneath. Catwoman, a woman empowered and reborn by Cantology, has forced Mrs. Hedare to reckon with her own slow death, both physically and as the face of the company. Catwoman has forced Mrs. Hedare to reckon with the fact that the religion has not saved her and has in truth caused her pain and sadness and will ultimately take her life without giving her anything in return. Despite both of their willingness to keep her alive, Mrs. Hedare falls off the building and tumbles to her death, where she dies once and dies finally. Her life has never been in any material danger at any point in the movie. There were no almost deaths. Even when her husband strikes her face prevents him from being able to land any lethal blows, and she has some means of protecting herself in any event. She has been cunty, yes, but Buzz does not look favorably upon her. She has not given her 9 more lives.
Look, this time I refuse to let you sabotage a good thing. If it's broke, fix it. All right? Now, I love you, and he is gonna love you. Now go.
One of the biggest things that comes up in religion is how exactly we are supposed to relate with each other as family, romantic partners, neighbors, and albeit to a less extent as friends. A lot of religions champion heteronormativity and monogamy, or at least a relationship setting that puts men at the center of the family, if not as the authority figure, then as the primary beneficiary of the benefits of romantic partnership, such as in a polygynous setting. But when we turn back to the words of, I guess we can call her the priest of cantology, a prophet. No, I don't know. One of the things that is made clear is that catwomen or cantologists are going to be drawn to a life of isolation, that they will not have some of the things that are traditionally expected of women, but that through this lifestyle, they will actually end up feeling more fulfillment than most other women. With this in mind, I want to start off by talking about a relationship in religious settings that isn't always thought of as a distinctive relationship, that between the recruiter and the new addition to the religion. Patience, as I just pointed out, was introduced to cantology by the agent of Bast herself, an Egyptian Mao in the form of Midnight. The first human being who tells her about the religion is Ophelia, who is herself clearly a cantologist. She lives
Today. Oh my God, what is that? Oh my God, what is that?
a life of isolation surrounded by cats, shunned by academia for her research interests, but still clearly finding joy in the life she leads and living a life of ease if that house is anything to go by. Also, great fashion. The house she lives in itself is super interesting. An ordinary type house located in the cityscape. I thought that was a really good touch. The point is that it is clear that Ophelia's aim is to simply guide Patience to help her make sense of her new identity and embrace both who she was and who she will be and who she is. She acknowledges that Patience has died, but takes care to remind her that she's still herself, but that she's also now something else, something more, and it's beautiful.
So I'm not Patience anymore? You are Patience. And you are Catwoman. Accept it, child. You spent a lifetime caged. By accepting who you are, all of who you are, you can be free.
Mrs. Hedare, unfortunately, does not have a similar introduction to cantology. Based on the facts that we know that she became the face of Hedare when she was 25, that she became the face by entering into a relationship with Mr. Hedare. Hedare is a pastor of sorts of cantology, but it's clear that he's a grifter. He's like the mega church guy of cantology, if you will. He doesn't guide Mrs. Hedare, discarding her the moment a Kantia girl comes into the chat. He does not nurture her. He reiterates that she's too old to be the face of Hedare. In other words, he's telling her that the version of her that she was in the past is better than who she is now, that she is inadequate and irredeemable. All he has done is exploit her countenance for the benefit of his business and the image of that business. He sapped at her energy rather than add to it, and now that there's nothing left, now that she is dead, he wants to throw her away. But the relationship Mrs. Hedare has with the CEO is more than just a recruiter-follower one. He's also her husband. Mrs. Hedare has had to latch onto the image of her husband to make sense of herself, to express her countenance for at least 15 years. She has not followed the precepts of cantology. She has not embraced isolation and independence, instead completely relying on some guy. She doesn't even have friends outside of him. Patience is different. She stands up Tom when he first pursues her, although this was unintentional, and she willingly leaves him in order to explore the world. While her friend has been preaching to her for ages that she should find a man and do everything she can to keep him, she has decided to forge her own path, to prioritize herself and dissent her men altogether in her decision making. One of the things that Abrahamic religions love doing is to employ dichotomies to create distinctions between the good and the bad, God versus devil, light versus dark, and so on. In these religions, whiteness or the light is considered as being the morally superior or good end of the axis, while blackness or the dark is inherently bad or evil. There's a whole lot I can say about this independently of the video, but we'll leave that alone. Cantology is yet again very different. From what we see in the imagery in the movie, Kant operate in the dark. Bast, the twin of the sun god, must necessarily operate in a different domain. When Patience is reborn, it is in the nighttime, and the first real act of transgression, crashing the party, stealing the bike, and robbing the jewelry store, happen in the nighttime. She starts her own journey at night. Catwoman's outfit is black. Cantologists wear dark colors and work in the dark. It's possible to argue, though, while still following the dichotomous reasoning, which has many pitfalls but conversation for another day, that in cantology, the dark is the place where cantologists can be authentically transgressive, while the light or white spaces are spaces of degeneration or repression. I think the clearest imagery for this is the final battle between Catwoman and Mrs. Hedare, with Catwoman wearing black and Mrs. Hedare wearing this cream-colored outfit with a pop of beige. This is not a battle between good and bad, because this is not an Abrahamic religion. It is a battle between authenticity and pretense.
You're a fake.
And what are you, a hero? thief? A freak? If you don't have an identity, why keep it a secret?
Because you killed me.
The announcement that she's no longer the face of Hedare is a bit more complex though, because although she's wearing a white top, Mrs. Hedare is wearing a black skirt. The contrast shows us that she's losing an aspect of herself and her faith. Whatever true compliance with Scientology she still has is seeping out of her because she's losing the only mechanism through which she could be a cunt. We see in the shot where the CEO reprimands Patience for using the wrong shade of red that Mrs. Hedare is wearing a white pair of heels, a clear symbol that she's about to undertake a walk into the world of degeneracy and disconnectedness from true self. When she walks into the Hedare quarters to the side of her pictures being removed and replaced with a new face, Mrs. Hedare is wearing a black dress. This is because she did not know that she was already being replaced and she still felt that she was connected with her sense of cunt, but this is being taken away from her and we see this final semblance of cunt disappear as a picture of Mrs. Hedare in a white jacket against a white backdrop covers her forlorn figure in this scene, and once the picture is taken off screen, we see that she too has disappeared. The next time we see her call for the murder of Patience, but we don't see her outfit. The next time we see Mrs. Hedare wearing black is when she sets up Patient for the murder of her husband and the whistleblower doctor. This act is evil, yes, but it is representative of her attempting to hold on to her cuntiness, hence the outfit. Remember, the dichotomy is not between evil and good, it's between authentic and not. Patience, for her part, after being set up, puts on a white tracksuit that has black stripes on it. She's arrested by her lover while wearing that outfit and later breaks out of prison in that outfit. This shows us that being set up for the murders that she was not to blame for prevented Patience from being able to access her true transgressive self. She's a morally great character and she has committed some crimes, but she's not a murderer and has been falsely accused of being one. The stripes on the outfit are black as a representation of the fact that she should probably be in jail for theft and property damage and such, but these are only stripes because she isn't in jail for the crime she has actually committed. We see both women wearing other colors throughout the movie. Patience in particular wears a host of other colors because, as Ophelia pointed out, she has not stopped being Patience, she has just become Patience and Catwoman. So she can wear other colors as a representation of the fact that she's still multifaceted. We only see Mrs. Hedare wearing one color other than black or white. We're gonna count beige as white here because the outfit was predominantly white, and that is red when she was being disingenuous yet again. Religions sometimes have some rules of how people should dress. Scientology seems to require its proponents to wear some sort of a mask. The host of pictures of Catwoman shown throughout the film show women wearing a wide variety of masks. When Patience puts on the Catwoman mask, she feels empowered. Even before Ophelia gives her the mask of a literal cat and Patience wears a simple face mask, we see how the mask allows Patience to engage in behavior she wouldn't otherwise feel comfortable engaging in. She steals, but she also manages to stop jewelry thieves from getting away with a pretty elaborate theft. The mask does not make her good or bad, it just allows her to tap into a different aspect of herself. And when she goes back to being Patience, she can decide which forms of conduct she's not comfortable with engaging with, but which Catwoman is, hence why she returns most of the stolen jewels but keeps the necklace. But even Patience here is transformed. She's no longer too afraid to stand up for herself against her boss and her loud neighbors. Donning the masks allowed Patience to be freer, but it has also allowed her to get rid of the mask of timidity and fear that she has been wearing for her whole life. Mr. Day is also wearing a mask, the stone face mask, which hides her internal degeneration. Unlike Patience, she can never take the mask off. The mask does not empower her. She must constantly put on a cream that causes dizzy spells because otherwise her skin will be destroyed. While she claims that the cream that she will force other women to wear too is a good thing for them, we are all aware that this is not the truth, and here we see another mask of degeneracy. Mrs. Adair cannot tell the truth about what she's doing. We could argue that she is a great character in some respects. She's not honest to herself or others about the things she chooses to do and which she's making other people to do. The mask causes her to act irrationally, vindictively, and against the interests of all parties concerned. Now, where does the problem of being too cunt fit in all of this? I think this is where it is important to remember that the religion in the movie is subversive. It isn't hegemonic, Abrahamic, and monotheistic religion, which demands that women be repressed and submissive. Scientology demands women to be witches and devils, take their fill from partners and leave, travel the world for traveling's sake, not spread the gospel at all but wait for it to come to you and look really good while doing it. Patience is not expected to change herself or hate the version of herself that existed before she became Catwoman. Patience before and after cuntification still wears the same color color palette, the more flattering silhouettes, she still has moments of being shy and unsure, and she has the same friend. Being too kind is problematic not because there's anything inherently wrong with it, but because it makes people uncomfortable. How do we make sense of promiscuous women, of evil women who steal without shame and intentionally cause harm to others? By construing them as problems in need of fixing. But the problem is a bit wider. The problem is a bit wider when we focus on specifically on the religions that are actively practiced. Obviously, people have different perspectives on religion, and people who have actually practiced a particular religion will have widely different accounts of what it is like to follow that particular religion. The problem then is with the experience of being religious. How do we make sense of these faiths that empower some while repressing others, that produce people who subjugate whole swaths of people and somehow create a hope for a liberated future in others, without even considering the broader social, cultural, and political consequences of religion in matters pertaining to colonization and race and class? How do we begin to grapple with the fact that some women find certain forms of dress empowering while others wish so desperately to not be forced to wear them? There are many people who have come up with many answers to these questions. I honestly have a lot of answers myself, but I'm not going to get into them because that's not why we're here. That's not why we're here, guys. My task isn't really to give you any answers. It was just to give you a revisionist reading of a movie that I thought was demonic as a kid and which I love now as an adult. So next time you see a Catwoman 2004 clip on the internet and think, ugh, ask yourself, is it just because I'm not cunty enough?